In my mind, the benefits of the One Book, One City program were to engage people in discussing the book. So in the end, it was really less important what the book was than whether it added, how discussable it was. And so I always wanted us to pick books where the discussion was just kind of unavoidable. You finish the book and you wanted to talk about it. So I think for me, that's the most important thing. To me, numbers are less important. Numbers of participants are less important than the quality of the experience.
Does the font affect your reading enjoyment?
Well, I love fonts. I love different fonts, and I actually had a friend who used to design alphabets. I think it's just great, but I can't say that it affects my reading enjoyment. But I do always love to see what it is at the end of the book. I have never read an ebook.
No interest?
If somebody gave me a Kindle and loaded it up with everything, I probably don't
Say
read it.
that they will do it.
No. Well, if somebody did that and loaded it up, then I would do it. But I would rather use the library to check out books.
I've been against it, but I've thought of you just in terms of travel.
Yes,
because you read
exactly.
so much that it would be nice to take one thing instead of 10 books.
Yeah,
but
and that's why I would do it.
otherwise, I'm totally against it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't care for reading.
Yeah. I do not listen to audiobooks, but only because I don't have that kind of life that has a place for that. And when I walk, I listen to music instead. But I want to listen to Motherless Brooklyn by Jonathan Lethem because I understand that's just a fabulous reader, and I love that book. So that is what I'm going to listen to. But Jim Dale, I can.
Yeah.
Be very proud of him.
I think The Reader just totally makes the book
I think so, too.
the number one ladies detective. I couldn't imagine reading it because the reader, she does all the dialects and pronounces everything correct.
There's I think that when you're reading a book yourself, then it's an interaction between you and the author, but then with the audiobook it brings that third person in, and so lots of people choose their books by who the reader is.
Yeah.
Doing reader's advisory, I don't use notes. I think it's it's like a parlor trick. It's like other people can juggle, but I just remember odd facts about books, and I'm never particularly interested in plot. So what I'm always thinking that we should do in Reader's Advisory is help the reader recreate the experience, which in my mind has nothing to do with the plot. Book trends reflecting society trends. What a hard question. Well, I think that one of the things that we're seeing, maybe because of people's lack of time, is we're seeing much more of those linked short stories passing for novels.
Oh, David Sedaris.
Right, but not even, let's see, like 3 of the best books that I've read this year are linked short stories. So instead of like one sort of plot arc, it's
the same characters, the same sort of
or all set in the same place, or the different characters come up. So I think that's like people's maybe lack of time, but I think also all this, this kind of deluge of celebrity crap, that's really distressing.
Tori, what is your so far 2008 number one pick?
Well, there's a couple. There's a lot of them. One is Olive Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout, which is wonderful linked short stories. And then there's another one called All Souls by Christine Shute, which is also linked stories, which I really liked. I really loved a book called Beginner's Greek by James Collins, which is just a kind of, he sort of channeled Shakespeare and Oscar Wilde, and it's just very warm and funny, and so those are three. Oh, and a very, very, very sad but wonderful memoir called The Suicide Index, which by a woman named Joan Wickersham, which I think is just great. My least favorite book or genre. I generally will read anything as long as it has writing that doesn't make me wince. So books where the writing makes me wince, like what you said about Danielle Steele, that, you know, I have trouble with that. So
but you'd read horror, you'd read fantasy.
I don't read the real grisly horror. I can't do that. But I do read fantasy, and I do read Neil Gaiman for fantasy. I mean, for the sort of tends toward horror on that scale. Horror, fantasy, science fiction. But I read almost everything. I don't read a lot of true crime. That's probably the least because it's just so.
Yeah, can be gruesome.
Yeah. Do you read graphic novels?
I do read graphic novels, and I like graphic novels. I like some graphic novels a lot, and some I don't like. But a book that I thought was really interesting was called Understanding Comics, which helped me, by a guy named Ken McLeod, which helped me helped me appreciate graphic novels. If I were a superhero, what would my powers be? Maybe to give everybody speed reading. Wouldn't that be good? That's what my brother-in-law thought of when I was trying to think of, of this. Yeah, I think that would be fun to give everybody the opportunity. I mean, obviously, I'd like to have world peace and Obama be elected, but dinosaurs, I've never been a dinosaur person. And I never actually saw that Nancy Pearl versus Godzilla.
I think the librarians, they were playing with this and they just posted it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fairly new.
Okay. If you were a superhero, could you use books to bring peace on Earth? Well, it would be nice to think that you could, but I'm not sure that you could. And I was trying to think about, is there a book that you want everybody to read? That sort of thinks about books in a way that I don't think about books as though they were the perfect book to do something, and I'm not sure that that's the case. So I sort of think it would be more fun to meet all of these world leaders and do readers advisory with them. And,
What do you think about Starbucks hawking one or two titles?
Yeah. Well, we all sort of hoped that they would pick Book Crush, which seemed like a natural book for them, but they didn't. I think anything that gets people to read. There's some. My mission has always been. I've always felt my mission was to introduce people to books they wouldn't find on their own. So I think like that. I think some of the books that Starbucks has picked were good choices for that.
They all seem so depressing.
Oh yeah, they are. But I think that, which is why you should read Beginner's Greek, because it's not depressing at all. It's a total comedy, and it ends just wonderfully. It's really nice.
Question. Do you prefer to read books that are written in the present tense or the past tense? Or don't you care?
Well, I just tried to read a book that was written in the present tense, and I didn't like it very much. So maybe it's although I think there's a book called Then We Came to the End by Joshua Ferris, which is set in Boston at an ad agent. I think it's Boston or Chicago, an ad agency that's going under, and it's written in the first person plural. We did this and we did that, and it's the present tense, and that's, I think, my favorite. So I love that sort of.
That was my other question. Third person or first person?
Oh, I like first person because I like voice a lot. Voice is really important to me, and I think it's just great, but I can't.